God's forgiveness. 3:23 Moses continued, seeing that God had allowed me to assign the territory that we conquered on the eastern side of the Jordan River to some of the tribes, when I thought that he might now be reconsidering his decree not to let me enter the land, thus intending to let me finish dividing it among all the tribes. I therefore thought it an opportune time to reiterate my profound desire to enter the land of Israel. Moses prayed for this clemency in consideration of his many good deeds, too, but as righteous people typically do, he also solicited God's absolute, undeserved mercy, feeling that his merits were not sufficient to warrant his prayer being accepted. I both prayed to God and entreated him at that time, saying, 24 God, I know that you are merciful even when meting out justice, for when the people sinned by making the golden calf, you took the initiative to show me, your servant, your magnanimity, that your right hand, which metes out loving kindness, is stronger than your left hand, which metes out strict justice, and can overcome it, and that it is our prayers that make your mercy override your justice. 5 That is why I am praying to you now and requesting mercy. For who is like you, God, in heaven or on earth, who can match your deeds and your might? Mortal kings have advisers who convince him not to be lenient or merciful, but you can do whatever you please. And I see now that you have begun to let me conquer the land. 25 My request, please let me cross over the Jordan River, complete the conquest of the land, and see the good land that is on the other side of the Jordan River, including the good mountain that you will choose as the location of the temple and the constructed and functioning temple itself, which is termed the Lebanon, because it whitens, from laven, white, the sins of the people. Please tell me whether you will grant this request. 26 But God was angry with me because of my improper response to you when you complained against him at Kadesh. 7 And he therefore did not heed me. God said to me, your entreaty in this regard suffices for me to understand how important this matter is for you. Speak to me no more regarding this matter, so that people should not consider me harsh and you pestering. Furthermore, a reward for your merits much better than what you are requesting awaits you in the afterlife. 8. 27 However, I will allow you to see not only the good parts of the land, that is, its exceptional parts, as you requested, but all of it. 9 Ascend to the peak of Mount Nebo and lift up your eyes westward, northward, southward, and eastward, and see it, but only from afar, with your eyes, for you will not cross this Jordan River. 28 Instead, prepare your successor to cross the river and lead the people into the land. Command Joshua not to be fazed by the people's troublesomeness, mistrust of their leaders, and general litigiousness. 10 Strengthen him and encourage him, lest he fear that just as I am denying you entrance into the land because of your shortcomings, so will I eventually do the same to him. For despite any shortcomings he may have, he will nevertheless cross over the Jordan River before this people, and he will apportion to them the land that you will merely see. I am making his success dependent on one condition, that he travel before this people, leading them into battle himself. Only then will he be able to conquer and apportion the land to them. They will lose any battles he does not lead. 29 After we conquered the territory of Sihon and Og, and I apportioned it to some of your tribes, which, as I mentioned, is what inspired me to ask God to reconsider allowing me to enter the Promised Land, we moved on to the plains of Moab, where we are presently located. We abided in the valley opposite Shittim, also known as Bet Peor, the house of Peor, where some of you were lured into committing lechery and idolatry. 11 Despite this, you have been forgiven for your sins and will soon cross over into the promised land, whereas I did not merit to be forgiven and will therefore not cross over into it. See, then, how gracious God has been to you. The importance of the commandments. 4:1 So now, O Israel, listen to the rules and to the ordinances that I am teaching you to observe, in order that you may live and enter and take possession of the land that God, God of your forefathers, is giving you. 2 The commandments are perfect. You do not need to try to enhance them in any way. Do not add anything to what I command you, nor subtract from it, in order to observe the commandments of God, your God, that I am commanding you exactly as they should be observed. For example, you will eventually be commanded to put 4 written passages of the Torah in your tefillin. 12 Do not instead put 5 in them. Since there are only 4 passages in the Torah that mention tefillin, adding a 5th passage about something else in order to expand the scope of the commandment will on the contrary mitigate the impact of the commandment. 13 Similarly, do not hold 5 different types of plants on Sukkot instead of 4. 14 Since only the 4 that God specified have the property of augmenting joy, holding a different type of plant, which does not share this property, would mitigate the effect of holding the other 4.15. A further example: do not attach 5 tassels onto a 4-cornered garment instead of 4 tassels. 16 Since the tassels are intended to remind you of the 4 expressions God used when He described how He was going to take you out of Egypt. 17 Adding a 5th tassel might make you think of something else, thereby mitigating the impact of this commandment. 18 By the same token, in each of these cases, do not use 3 items instead of 4. 3 You have seen with your own eyes what God did in the incident involving Baal Peor, how God, your God, exterminated from your midst every individual who abandoned God and followed Baal Peor. For in contrast, all of you who are alive today are lovingly attached. 19 To God, your God. 20